Hi everyone, my name is Phyllis and I'm the owner of Moody Quilting Fabrics. Today we're not that far away from Halloween. So I received in some fabrics, and those fabrics actually inspired me to design some new placemat pattern. So I'm going to switch to the upper camera and I'm going to put myself up in the corner over there. And here I am with the placemat. It's a bat. Yes, it's a bat. I couldn't resist. So the fabric collection I'm using is canvas, and I'm using 3 of their colors. This one is charcoal. The border is charcoal. Then this is French vanilla, and the bat is made with ebony. Ebony. So I am really excited to get to this. So let's get going, okay? So the first thing we're going to do is we need to make these half square triangles. Okay, so let's get to that and I'll show you. Now I'll put down below the link to the pattern so you can buy the pattern if you want to make these. And here we are. Also, don't forget, if you want to see more of these videos, to subscribe and ring the bell so you'll know when I upload. So the first thing you're going to do is you're going to draw on the half square triangles. Now I have a black and the ebony and the French vanilla fabrics right sides together, and you're going to sew on either side of that. So let's do that now. So what I like to do is on my foot, I have a little black guide, and I'm going to put that little black guide on this line here. Now, I don't know if you can see that on the camera, the line, but trust me. So we're going to draw on, we're sewing on either side of that line. And if you put the guide or the edge of your foot, depending on what your machine has for a quarter-inch foot. This one has a little guide. So I'm going to now turn this around and I'm going to place it again on the line. And this way I know that I'm sewing a quarter-inch away from that line. And there we go. So let's switch back to the overhead camera, and we're just going to trim this away. Now you can rotary cut on this line. Now you've prepped to make two half square triangles, so you can rotary cut or just use your scissors and cut. I'm just going to quickly rotary cut those apart. So you end up with 2 half square triangles. Then you're going to iron them to the dark side. Okay, so then they look like that. Now we need to square these up because they're a little bit bigger. I made them just a little bit bigger. Now you can use any ruler you like to square up, and you will square them up to whatever size is says in the pattern. I'm using my lock blocks. I love my lock blocks because it makes it so much easier to square up. You just choose the size lock block ruler that you would need to square this up, and then you get this perfect squared up circle without even thinking about it. It's pretty hard to make a mistake. So there you will do the quantity that you need for this pattern. You're making enough to do 4 placemats, a set of placemats. So you'll do whatever the number is. I don't know. You'll have to get the pattern. Yeah, you'll have to get the pattern. So there it is, okay? So now, once those are done, we need to start putting together the different units. So let me just get this out of the way, and let me put this, we don't need it right now. We don't need that right now. All right, so the first thing we want to do is we want to make a unit like this. Okay? These are the little eyes of the bat. So we will need a J, a G, 3 H's, 1, 2, and 3 H's, and 2 I's. You're going to sew those together, and they're going to look like this. Let me turn this around so it's facing the same direction as the actual piece. So once you sew these together, then you'll sew these 3 together, and then you'll have this unit. All right, so let's move on to the next unit. I'm turning this facing me, so it's making it a little easier. It might be backwards for you. All right, the next thing we need to do is we need to put the bat's ears in right up at the top. So we're going to need, let me just get some of these pieces out of the way. We're going to need an F, and we're going to need 2 D's. Now make sure that you put these ears in the right direction, or you'll be unsewing. All right, so then we're going to go ahead and sew these 2 together. Okay, so let me switch over to the camera for the sewing machine. And of course, we're going to do a 1/4 inch seam allowance. And we're going to pick up the next one, making sure that we do not turn that around. There we go. There we go. All right, so let's turn back to the above camera, and I'm going to snip off the excess threads, get those out of my way, and I'm going to iron this. So I think I'm just going to iron towards the triangles, because I think that's going to give me, now you can open these seams up if you want, that's a choice. I open some of the seams up, but not all of them. I am not a fan of open seams because as a long armor, there's nothing to stitch in. So then we're going to sew these 2 together. So here we go. We're going to just sew these 2 together, making sure things are lined up nicely. All right, so now we can iron this. And we're going to put this aside. Now I think I'm going to iron towards the little bar, because that's the flattest way, the flattest. And there's the first full unit with the ears and the face, okay? So we're going to put this aside. I'm just going to put it up. I'm just going to put it aside. And the next unit we need to do is this unit. Oh, sorry, I forgot to switch over. Okay, there we go. I'll redo this. I'll redo it. I'm sorry. I forgot to switch the cameras. All right, so that is the 2 units. The first unit, and then the ears, and they're sewn together. They look very sweet. It almost looks like Batman's mask, right? So this is a good start. Now we need to do 2 of these. Okay, so we need to do these, we will need Let me just change over the, okay, so we will need a B, a D, 2 Ds, and 2 Bs for the top part. So let's get those. So we need 2 Bs. And I'm looking at this one to make sure that I'm putting this one together correctly. Okay. And we'll need some more Ds here. I think that, yeah. And we'll need 1, 2, 3, 4 Ds at the bottom. So I'm just going to put pull four Ds out. All right. We are going to need a B, a C. So we're going to need 2 Bs. Just making sure that I have the right side up. There's 2 Bs. And we need an E here. Here we go, an E. And we need 2 Cs. Here and here. Okay, and then along the bottom, we need 4 Ds. There we go, 4 Ds. Okay, so the first thing, let me just get these C's out of the way. Okay, so the first thing we're going to do is we're going to sew these together. So let's do that. I'm going to pick this up, and I'm going to pick this one up. And we're going to sew around across there. We'll get these 2 sewn. Yeah, just double checking myself. All right, let's pray that I did this right. All right, so now we're just going to trim these apart. We're going to double check to make sure that they are correct. That one's correct. And yay, both of them are correct. So now we're going to iron to the dark side. We're going to iron the seam to one side, to the dark side. All right, so that's done. So now we're going to go ahead and get these all into rows, just like you do with a big block. I'm going to sew this one. I have a little problem. Yeah, that's what I was, okay, there we go. All right, sometimes, there we go. If I do not hold those threads, sometimes, there we go. There we go. And then we're going to sew these 2. Now I'm just going to do chain stitching along here. I'm going to grab the bottom ones and sew those together. And I'm just picking them up in the order that I want to sew them. Making sure things line up. There we go. All right. So let's switch back. Oh, I forgot to switch to the sewing machine. I'm so sorry. I'm boffing this one. All right. So you know how to sew. Ah! All right. So now I'm going to put these into the order that they need to go, because I want to make sure that I do not mess these up. So I'm going to iron them to the side. I'm going to iron this one to the side. Okay. And then I'm going to go ahead and take a look at, oh, I sewed two of them together wrong. I sewed them wrong. See? See how I sewed them wrong? So this one will be taken apart. I'm just going to grab two more and get those sewn together. All right, I'm just going to iron this to one side. And put that in there. And I'm going to, okay. I don't know how that got turned around, but it did. I never understand. Sometimes you do something and you mess up a little bit. All right. So the other ones were sewn the same way with my 1/4 inch foot. It's getting turned there. No. Sometimes what's happening is it's grabbing this seam here, and it's being pushed under. So what I think I'm going to do is I'm going to flip. Instead of sewing this way, I'm going to sew this way. And hopefully that problem will go away. There you go. All right, let me just fix this up. There we go. All right. So now we have this going in the right direction. And now I'm just going to take, yeah, I want to seam it that way. All right, so now I have a few more pieces. Now we're going to sew these two together. We're going to sew these two together, and then we're going to sew these to the center. So let's start. And I'm just going to go through each one individually and get them sewn together. Okay. I'm just going to flip this to the other side because I want that seam to go down. It just seems to work better with this machine. I don't have this problem with my FAF, but with this machine I do. All right, so now we're going to go ahead and get these trimmed apart and place back into the order that we want to sew in. And I have one more seam to do before I can put this unit fully together. And here we go. So I opened some of these seams up just to keep things a little flatter, and other seams I left to one side. I opened these seams up on this one, I'm not happy with the way, see how it's jagged out? It's not perfect there, because I had no way of knowing if it was lined up. So this one, I will open this middle one up because there's nothing to line up, and it will help it flatten it out just a little bit more. There'll be a little less bulk. And I'm going to do the same with this one. There we go. And now I'm going to go ahead and sew this to this in the correct order. Okay. And now I'm just going to check. So I ironed these ones out, and I'm going to iron these ones in. And I find that if you're careful with how you iron things, you'll get flatter. So make sure that you put it back into the right direction. So there we go. That looks like it's in the right direction. So now we're going to start sewing, matching up these seams. And because I did not open these seams here, I have something to feel and match up. So we're just going to go ahead and get this sewn together. It's doing it again, and this time I cannot. There we go. Okay, it's what it is. I'm going to go ahead and iron that in a direction that it likes the most. And then we're going to go ahead and sew this to this. Oh, I forgot to. All right, so I've ironed it in a direction that works best, and it's pretty good. And now we're going to sew this to this, and we have our 2 units, and we need 2 for each of the bat placemats. There we go. There we go. All right. So we're just going to get this ironed. And it seems to iron nicely. All right, so there we are. We have our those 2 units, and now we need to put them together. And I'm just making sure that I put them together in the right way. So we're going to go ahead and get those sewn together. And let me sew these, because then there's 2 bars. There's 2 bars this way and 2 bars at the top. So let's get this sewn together. There we go. I'm going to go ahead and get the next one sewn on. All right, so let's, this is looking really nice. So there's the bat. Now we still have 2 bars to complete the actual block. We have 2 bars that we need to put on top and bottom. So let me just get this properly ironed so we can get that done. All right, so there's my bat. I have it facing me. I'll turn around so you guys can see nicely. I'm really, really pleased with how nice they've come together. Okay. And now we have 2 bars. Bar A. We have bar A here, or strip A, and we have strip A there. And that's after you sew these 2 on, you will have it looking like, no, let me sew this together. I'm going to put this down against that. I'm going to put the strip to the down against the feed dogs. It's just a tad longer than the actual patchwork, but I want to make sure that this comes up to the right size. So by putting it on the feed dogs, I'm just going to do that. It's going to take up any fullness I might have on that strip, and then it will be the right size. Just going to line this up a little bit more. There we go. And we're going to go ahead and do the same thing on the other side. Now, these 2 strips that the 2 strips I'm sewing on now are the 2 to complete the block. So you could come up with other ways of using this block, but I need to put on, to make it the right size for the placemats, I need to put 2 more strips on, and I'll show you what that will look like once they're put on. My feet are sticking to the all right. All right, we're almost done. All right, so now I've sewn these on. Let me get rid of the excess threads. Okay, so I've sewn these on. And once these strips are on, you have completed the actual block. Now, to make it the right size for, and I'm just going to get rid of some extra black stitches. To make it work with for the placemat, I need to make it a little wider than it is. So there is it looking, that's the completed block, okay? To widen it up, to make it wider, we need to put 2 more strips on here and here. Now, you're probably saying, oh, why didn't you just cut a much wider strip and then you wouldn't have 2 strips? It's because this block, this as is the finished block. And to make it fit into, to make it work for a placemat, I had to add on the extra strips. And I decided to leave the designing this way. And the reason why I did that is so we could use this as is somewhere else, in something else. All right, so to make it, I'm not going to show you the sewing for that because I do have one ready to go. So I'm just going to move some things around. And here is it all sewn together. And lots of lint, lots of lint. So now we want to put our borders on. So the little black border around here, let me pull up this, okay? And I'm just going to give you instructions on what to do. So I like to put on the short side first and then the longer side. You can do it either way, but my preference is the short sides first and then the longer side. So you will measure this, and what I do is I will just show you quickly what I do. I don't think this is long. Oh, look at that. That's long enough. So what I do is if I'm putting these 2 short pieces on, like here and on the other side, I will put 2 strips down the center and I will cut here and here and then put them on. And then once they're on, I will do the same thing down the center, cut, cut, and sew and sew. Once they're on, I would do the exact same thing for the wide border. I'll put these 2 on. I'll measure, I'll lay the strip down the center, the 2 strips down the center, and cut, and then they're the right size. And then I'll do the same thing here. I'll put 2 strips down the center and cut on either side and sew them. And just don't forget, your feed dogs are your friend. If your measurement here is slightly longer than this edge, you keep that measurement, and what you do is these outer edges can get stretched out. So that's why we measure down the center only, and this way you will put you'll put the pieces on. And then what I do is I match up here. Hold on. What I do is I'll match up this corner and this corner if I'm sewing this strip on, and match those up. And then I'll put this, if this is longer than what I'm sewing it to, then I will put that against the feed dogs. And the feed dogs will just gather up any little fullness you have, and then it will lie nice and flat as you see. So there it is, the Halloween bat placemats. You will find the link down below for the pattern. And I hope I hope you guys enjoyed this. I know that I was a little off with my camera work, but that happens sometimes. So we'll see you on the next tutorial share day. Bye.